Okay, let's just dive right in. We spend so much time focusing on our own internal state, our thoughts, our breathing, our mindset. But what about the people around us who directly affect that state? In this explainer, we're getting super practical. We're going to talk about how to take a really honest look at the relationships in your life, and I'm going to give you the exact words to use to protect your peace when you need to. And this right here, this is the core truth we have to start with. Look, this isn't just about feelings. This is biology. Your environment, and especially the people in it, have a direct chemical impact on your nervous system. If you're constantly just soaking in someone else's stress hormone, their cortisol, your own system is going to pay the price. The relationships we keep, they really, really matter. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a simple 3-question audit to help you assess your relationships. Then we'll get into how to manage those tough dynamics you can't just walk away from. After that, I'm going to give you 4 specific word-for-word scripts you can use to set boundaries. And we'll wrap it all up with the ultimate rule of peace. It's a clear path from analysis straight into action. First up, the 3-question audit. This is all about giving you a clear, objective lens to evaluate the real impact people are having on your life, moving past all the guilt or sense of obligation. This is the big question, isn't it? It can feel so complicated, so messy. But the framework we're about to look at breaks it down into some really simple, powerful filters. So these filters, they break it all down into 3 simple rules: the benefit versus duty question, the advice rule, and the no team rule. And that third one, the no team rule, this is so powerful. It basically gives you permission to trust your own experience. It says your reality doesn't need a second witness. If someone is harmful to you, that's the only vote that counts, period. Okay, let's dig into that first filter, benefit versus duty. Healthy connections, they're built on mutual joy. You're there because you genuinely want to be. But unhealthy ones, they run on a different kind of fuel: guilt, fear, or obligation. The source material just nails it when it says, if the only thing keeping you in a relationship is the anxiety of what would happen if you left, that's not connection. That's a hostage situation dressed up as loyalty. Now for the second filter. And honestly, this one's a total game changer. The advice rule. Just stop and think about this for a second. If you wouldn't trust this person's judgment on your career, or your health, or your big life choices, why on earth would you let their opinion of you dictate how you feel about yourself? If you wouldn't take their advice, their opinion simply doesn't get a vote. So when you boil it all down, the entire audit really just comes down to this one simple question: does this relationship bring out the best in me, or does it keep me stuck in a cycle of fear, anger, or shame? If you find yourself constantly having to manage those feelings just to get through an interaction, well, that's not a relationship. That's a job you never even signed up for. Okay, but what happens when you can't just walk away? A coworker, a co-parent, maybe a family member. In these kinds of unavoidable dynamics, the goal completely shifts. It's no longer about finding connection. It's all about self-protection. Your only job is to protect your peace. And for that, we've got 3 super practical tools. First, you negotiate boundaries, and that means explicitly stating what's off limits. Second, you limit your exposure because you have way more control over how often and for how long you interact than you probably think. And third, the recovery rule. And this one is so important for your actual biology. After a stressful interaction, you've got to physically get that cortisol out of your system. Go for a walk, put on some music, do something physical. And just as important is what some call the no rehash rule. Once you've processed it and you know what your boundary is for next time, let the details go. Replaying it in your head over and over, you're just hitting the cortisol button again and again. Okay, so knowing you need a boundary is one thing, but having the actual words to say, that's another beast entirely. So now we get to the good stuff, the toolkit. 4 clean, calm, and really effective scripts. And listen, for all of these, remember the golden rule. Say the line, then exit. The power, it's all in the exit. All right, first scenario. Picture this. You can feel the tension building, the conversation is getting heated, or maybe it's just turning toward a topic you've already decided is totally off limits. What do you say? You use the firm stop. I'm ending this conversation. We can try again when things are calm. It's not a request, it's a statement. It's clear, it's firm, and it protects your energy. Then you physically walk away or you hang up the phone. Okay, next scenario. Someone's just being really negative, maybe a little combative. and you want to kind of hold up a mirror to their behavior without escalating the conflict yourself. You use the disarming question. Is this how you want to spend our time together? It's so brilliant because it's not an attack, right? It's a genuine question that gently forces them to reflect on their own actions and how they're choosing to use your shared time. All right, what about this one? Someone is clearly upset and they're aiming it all right at you. You want to show that you see their emotion, but you absolutely refuse to become a punching bag or take on blame that isn't yours. This is where you use the compassion shield. I can see you're upset, that's the compassion part, but I'm not going to be the target of it, and that's the shield. See how it works? It validates their feeling without accepting their behavior. It separates the two perfectly. And finally, the one so many of us dread. Someone is making you feel guilty. You never call. We never see you anymore. They're pulling on that same sense of obligation we talked about earlier. Here, you use the honest truth. Look, this one takes some real courage, but it is the cleanest, most direct path forward. I haven't called because the interactions feel negative. It replaces their story about your neglect with the truth of your experience, and it clearly states what you need for the relationship to actually continue. Okay, let's tie all of this together now with a single rule that sits underneath all of these tools and all of these scripts, the ultimate rule for protecting your peace. And it all comes down to one thing you can't negotiate: your health. And this is the ultimate rule. You don't owe anyone a long explanation about your nervous system or a defense of your boundaries. If a situation becomes draining or damaging, you have a biological obligation to your own health to disconnect. Sometimes the most powerful boundary you can set is simply silence. So as we wrap this up, I really want you to think about this question. Let one specific person, one relationship come to mind. Which of the tools we've covered today, the audit, limiting your exposure, maybe one of the scripts, which one feels like the easiest, most accessible place for you to start? Because at the end of the day, this is all about remembering your own agency. Think of yourself as the conductor of your life's orchestra. The baton is in your hand. You are the one who decides when the music is just too loud, and you have all the authority you need to bring it to a stop.